Greetings, fellow artists. Have you ever wondered why your buildings look wonky? That's perspective. Let me show you. Here's a horizon line, just where the trees meet the sky, okay? We know what a horizon is. We're just going to pick a vanishing point. That's where things go over the horizon and vanish. You can just pick wherever you want. It depends on where you're standing. So everything is going off. It's kind of big toward you. And then as it goes in the distance, it's getting smaller and smaller, and it vanishes. Especially notable in Raphael's The School of Athens. Everything is going, see between those two guy heads? It's all vanishing toward the center, very strong lines. All right, let's look at a railroad track, maybe. That will show us something. So we have a railroad tie, sort of at our feet. Looks kind of big. You might even see some detail in the wood of the railroad tie. The next one is about there, let's say, and it's a little smaller, we know. It's getting smaller and less detail visible. And then the next one, a little smaller. And I see that this is a terrible pencil. What is wrong with this pencil? Ugh. All right, excuse me just a minute. Let me get a better pencil. Let's try this pencil. Oh yeah, that's better. Okay, so we got a railroad tie. And it's about like that. And there's another railroad tie. It's a little bigger because it's closer to us. And of course, the next one's a little smaller than that one. And then they get smaller and smaller and closer until back here, they're just kind of a blur. All right. We can go look at a railroad track and see that. Now we got a guy coming toward us. He's a 6-foot guy, but he's back here. So he only gonna look about 3 inches. There's our little 3-inch, 6-foot guy coming toward us. We know he's going to get bigger as he gets closer. It's just the way our eyeballs work. And it's called perspective. This is linear perspective. Let's try something else. We have a horizon line. We're going to do 1-point perspective. So we're just going to choose a point. You could choose it anywhere. And we're looking at a box. And the box, we're looking at it straight on from the side. Well, if it's a long box, what are we going to do? We're going to use the tool that all great artists use, which is called a ruler. Draw a straight line back from the edge of your box to the vanishing point. Now it helps if you're accurate with this. I usually go too fast, not terribly accurate. And then since we're looking straight on, then that's going to be straight on, and that's going to be vertical. And there's our 1-point perspective box. Well, what if we want more than one box in our picture? Well, okay, fine. Make a straight on edge like that. Use your great artist tool. Straight line. Obviously, you're going to erase these extra lines that you don't need. Look at that box. We can't even see it from the side. But that's accurate perspective. Well, what if you're a surrealist and you want to put a box up in the sky? A Vogon non-aerodynamic spaceship, let's say. There we go. It's floating up in the sky. Same thing. If it's the same picture, use the same perspective. All the squarish things in your picture will go to the same perspective. You can see how it would work with a cityscape, for example. Here's our Vogon spacecraft. And of course, the sun's shining on top, so it's dark on the bottom. And maybe it's a little bit darker on this edge. And that makes it look like a flying box. That's 1-point perspective. Make a bunch of them. Practice. You got a lot of paper. Oh, what if we want to make our box into a barn? Make an X to find the center. That's the center of your barn roof. And this has got a shed type roof. Like that. The top of the barn roof is also going to go back to the 1 point. Just going to eyeball the other end of the barn roof. Well, then, just get rid of some of these guidelines. You would just use a ruler or whatever your medium is. You can just make them very light. You're called guidelines. You don't need them anymore. Well, what if we want to make a shed attached to our barn? We can do that too. In fact, you can do anything with perspective that has straight lines. What are we going to make this? Going to make a little shed off of our barn. We're going to store garden tools in this shed. And he is constructed in 1 point perspective. In this case, 1 point perspective. I imagine the garden shed is very messy with tools scattered all around, but then that may just be my garden shed. Yours might be extremely neat. 1 point perspective. A little dark on that side. Okay. We got that practice. Let's try something harder. There's also 2 point perspective. Let's say you were looking at the corner of the barn, not straight on. Where are we going to put it? I put it right there. That's just arbitrary where you put it. You're the artist, your choice. Should have been vertical, excuse me. Get our great artist tool. Now everything that way is going to that vanishing point. But everything the other way is going to that vanishing point. 1 point is obviously simpler, but doesn't always work that way. What if you're doing a cityscape? This works for a cityscape to keep it from looking wonky. To keep it looking like we're on planet Earth. You're arbitrarily deciding how long this box is. The top of the box will go to the opposite vanishing point. You're arbitrarily choosing a vertical. You're the artist, your choice. And now we have a box in 2 point perspective. And that works. Make them anywhere on your paper. Make lots of practice. All right. We got that right. If we have an ice cube sitting in a field, that's a silly thing, but sometimes it comes in handy to think of it that way. What if we want to put a roof on this thing, like it's a barn of some sort? Corner to corner is going to give you the center, of course. Vertical. Oops, I'm a little off my vertical there, ain't I? Vertical. There's a vertical in the back, too. Because it's an ice cube, so we can see through it. An ice cube with a roof. And I did not do this accurately, but you get the point. If I did do it accurately, it would work just fine. All right, that roof is also going to go back to the opposite. Erasing some guidelines would help you at this point. There's the middle of my roof. And we're just going to make it come down like a shed roof. This is not perfectly symmetrical. We're looking from the corner and I say, oh, that's not where that shed roof is. So I'm going to eyeball it. Sometimes you eyeball stuff. Or sometimes I do. Alright, so here's our building in 2 point perspective. You could make lots of buildings I tend to just make nature stuff, which doesn't have many straight lines in nature. I think only certain crystals have straight lines, but everything else has got some kind of wavy line. Oh, I can't stand them sitting there without a tree, so I'm going to make a little tree there. Kind of bugging me. Oh, some hills. River. Or a little creek, actually. Of course, the creek's getting wider as it comes toward you because of perspective. Same with trees. Branches. Pavements. Waves. Even flowers in a field are in perspective. Show you a little trick. So let's say we have a fence row or a row of trees or what, telephone poles or something. We're going to use some perspective to figure out how they're supposed to look. So here we go. I'm going to do a fence row in a field. The first one, you're just going to arbitrarily decide this is where the first fence post goes. And it's so big and so tall. It's just arbitrary. You're just figuring that out. The second one is also going to be arbitrary. You're just going to try to picture how would that look right up there. Yeah, about like that. We know it's going to be a little thinner than the one before, and it's too thin. So now we're just doing artsy, intuitive stuff. But now we're going to get scientific. It goes right up to there. It also has a vanishing point. Well, where does the next one go? This can get confusing. That corner through the middle of your second one will tell you where the next one is. There's where the next one is. We're going to put our next one. Now we're not just going off intuition, because it gets difficult as it gets toward the vanishing line. Alright, and so it's right about there. Where does the next one go? Center. Corner through the center. It's where the next one's going to go. And of course, you just go on like that forever. Well, not forever, until you reach the end of your paper. Okay. Now there we go. We've got a fence. Fence going off into the distance. Correct perspective. Like, I was raised on a farm. That's not enough wire on that fence. The cows are going to get out, so I had to make another one. Practice all those perspectives. Here's one I did of a book cover, and since it was the Magic Barn, of course I had to use perspective. And my vanishing points were off the paper. So practice, practice, practice. Think responsibly, and stay awesome.